Beating a game seems like it should be the end, right? Well, not always. Sometimes there is some absolutely wild stuff you will find after beating the game. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 crazy things you unlock only after finishing the game, part 2. In part 1, we actually talked about a bunch of different games. If you're interested, there's plenty to see, from Grand Theft Auto 5 to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Final Fantasy X, Resident Evil 4, Dead Rising, the original Nier, Bravely Default 2, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Gold and Silver, and Silent Hill 3. If any of that seems like it might scratch an itch, head back to those. Now, we are mostly just talking about unlocks here, but also keep in mind there's going to be a few ending spoilers for the games that we're talking about, so even though we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail, keep that in mind. Starting off at number 10 with Red Faction Armageddon's Mr. Toots. This is a bonus that seems custom made for a list like this. Red Faction Armageddon wasn't quite as memorable as the previous Red Faction, Gorilla, but at least it's got some amusing unlockables like this thing. Like, look at it. It's a My Little Pony that shoots rainbows out of its butt. And that goes hard. It's so ridiculous. I would have included it on the first list, but just forgot about it. Like, it's not just an Easter egg. This game actually just gives it to you. You beat it and you have it. It's also a good weapon. The beam it shoots basically vaporizes anything it hits, so it's incredibly powerful while being incredibly goofy. I mean, look at its face as you fire it. It's nuts. And it's the little details that really make this one. The way your guy lifts up Mr. Toot's tail before firing is perfect. More games need to throw in goofy stuff like this, especially if you can earn it from playing the game and not spending real-world cash like some of the more interesting things that are quote-unquote hidden in games nowadays. At number 9 is infamous Second Son's Concrete Power. There is basically a fourth power you get in infamous Second Son, Concrete. Like, the entire goal of the game is to save your tribe by absorbing Augustine's powers, and in the final mission, you do achieve your goal. In most games, they would just throw you back into the game before the final encounter, but here, you get a proper post-game where you're free to use the awesomely overpowered Concrete Power as much as you want. Its moveset's a little limited compared to other powers, like there's no Karma Bomb or disorientation powers, but the amount of pure damage you can put out easily makes up for that. On top of that, the Concrete Power is also easy to recharge. You can absorb it from anything made of concrete, and the game is set in a city. Wherever will you find some concrete? Oh right, everywhere. You're forced to deal with soldiers with concrete powers the entire game, so it's nice to finally be able to give these guys a taste of their own medicine. You have to play through the entire story to get a chance to do it, but it definitely makes getting 100% completion a lot easier. And number 8 is Nier Automata, the second half of the game. I mentioned the original Nier on the first list, and while that game went nuts with stuff that happens after the supposed ending, the sequel goes so much further. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a quick summary. Nier Automata is pretty much exactly what you expect at first. It's weird, but the story plays out in a pretty standard way. What's unusual is that after you beat the game, you're given the option to play through the game again, but this time as 9S instead of 2B. You see a little more of the story this time around because he has a different perspective and there's stuff that he sees that 2B doesn't see, but it's not that big of a departure. But once you beat the game as 9S, the game goes completely crazy. After the credits roll, you basically get thrown into part 2 of the game with completely new bosses, completely new events, and another completely new playable character. You cannot finish the game unless you have beaten the game not once, but twice, and that's still not the true ending. To get the true ending, you have to get the next 2 endings, which finally unlocks the "for real, we swear it's over this time" ending. As you'll soon see, Japanese games love this stuff. Like, a lot of people find all the secret ending stuff tedious or a waste of time, and yeah, it's definitely an easy way for a game to add a few dozen hours of playtime without a lot of extra work, but few games have as much content as this one once you've beaten it the first time. It's a bit of a slog, but going through the game at least twice is definitely worth it. It's almost like getting a sequel, except for you already had it and didn't know. But now you know, because, we said it on this list. At least if you didn't know anything about Nier Automata. And number 7 is Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, Isolated Isles, Forgo Dreams. The most recent entry on this list is also one of the best. Kirby games have a long history of post-game bonus modes. Just look at Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy. You know, the very first game in the series, which came out in 1992. The game had a secret hard mode that you could unlock with a code after beating the game. The post-game in Forgotten Lands is a little more elaborate though. After you beat the final boss, a mysterious portal opens up in town that leads to this place called the Isolated Isles, with the levels being a remixed version of each world from the main game. At the end, you could take on the standard final boss, but at the last minute he gets taken out and you face off against a new enemy, the Morpho Knight. This guy is basically Virgil to Kirby's Dante. He does not mess around, but beating him, oh, it's worth it because it unlocks the amazingly overpowered Morpho Knight sword upgrade, which is a super powerful ability that you can actually get some use out of because the game's not actually done at that point. Yes, it's the post game. No, it's not done. The only thing left to be finished now is the Colosseum. You unlock the final and most challenging part of it after beating the bonus world and clearing all the previous arenas, and doing so lets you take on an even harder version of the original game's final boss. To make a long story short, there is a surprising amount of stuff you can do after beating this game. And number 6 is Hades, the Pact of Punishment. There are a lot of games out there where people say the real game doesn't start until after you beat it, and usually it's kind of an exaggeration. We already showed you one example where that is not an exaggeration, Nier Automata, but with Hades, oof, also, it's absolutely true here. For most players, it's going to take a while to finally escape the underworld and defeat Hades, and this is a roguelike, so that's expected. After beating the game once and starting to make the palace again, is when you unlock the Pact of Punishment, a new feature that lets you increase the challenge of your escape runs with all kinds of negative effects that cumulatively add to your heat level. The higher your heat, the more rewards you get, and every time you beat the game on one heat level, you can turn it up higher and get more rewards. It's kind of a complicated system, but it encourages you to try new things and push yourself to the limit. The fact that all of this is tied to what weapon you're using changes things up significantly, because each weapon ties in with heat separately. You have to gradually work your way up with each one rather than just swap between them whenever you want. We're really only scratching the surface of the system here, and that's not even mentioning how much story still remains after, the end game, so to speak. There's a ton of new dialogue and character interactions that only occur after you beat the game the first time. All of this stuff is really only for players who love to figure out the best builds and challenge themselves, but if you do, it all adds a lot to the entire experience. And number 5 is Chrono Trigger's New Game Plus and the secret endings it has. We can't not mention Chrono Trigger on a list like this. The game is responsible for coining the term New Game Plus. It basically came up with the idea of playing the game again with all the experience you earned for the first time through. There are other games that probably did that first, like Legend of Zelda had the second quest, Ghosts and Goblins told you to play the game again after beating it, but Chrono Trigger actually called this mode New Game Plus, and that's what it's been called ever since. On top of being able to just steamroll through everything on the low-level enemies at the start of the game when you play New Game Plus, you can use your strength to see one of the many secret endings the game has. The hardest ending to get is the Dream Team one, which you can only get by defeating Lavos at the very beginning of the game, and it's basically a big developer room filled with characters that are supposed to be developers. Every other ending has more what you'd expect from a time travel story. Basically, things don't usually turn out so well if you end the game before everything is properly fixed. It's a classic bonus and one of the great all-time RPGs. The secret endings make an already excellent game even better. And number 4 is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Riku's story, which is reverse/rebirth mode. It's one that will really catch you by surprise. After you finish the main game of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, you'll unlock an entirely new game mode called reverse/rebirth mode, and instead of playing as Sora, you play as Riku. It's pretty much an all-new alternative take on the game, with new cutscenes, new gameplay mechanics. It's kind of like Kingdom Hearts' version of the Resident Evil 2 zapping system. Like, it's crazy how much effort they put into this. Instead of starting on the first floor of Castle Oblivion like Sora does, Riku starts in the basement and works his way up to the entryway, and it's all supposed to be happening concurrently of Sora's adventure. Another thing that makes this mode different is the gameplay. Riku has a selection of cards to choose from, so there's no deck building like in the regular game, and he has no magic at all, so the whole thing feels a lot more action-oriented. Honestly, just a cool addition to the game. Chain of Memories is far from the only Kingdom Hearts game with post-game content, but maybe the most important and fleshed out stuff in any of them. It's basically the rest of the game.
What's this?
It is a door to the truth. Take it and your sleep ends as you take the first step toward the truth.
And number 3 is Dragon Quest XI's Epilogue. This is absolutely just a massive game that never does seem to end. After part 2, it seems like everything should be wrapped up, but there's still those pesky little shadow guys running around. You'd think that'd lead to a single post-game dungeon or something where you can wrap the story up quick, but no, after you beat the game, watch the credits roll, you haven't actually seen the entire climax of the story. After the ending, you can actually reverse time and go back to redo key story sequences so that things play out in a more positive way. There's a lot of this stuff, and it forces you to replay a little bit of the main game over again, but it's well worth it if you want to face off against the actual true final boss to get the actual true real ending. It's a massive section that's just as well made as the rest of the game. Calling it an epilogue almost doesn't feel right. It is that big. A lot of players miss out on this part either because they hear the name and assume it's just a small little thing, or they've already put 100+ hours into the game and they're just exhausted. But the true ending of this game is crazy and very worth the additional time investment. At number 2 is Aztec and Egyptian from Goldeneye. Gotta bring up these classics. 2 secret levels in Goldeneye were Aztec and Egyptian, and they were unlocked by finishing every level on Secret Agent difficulty for Aztec and 00 Agent difficulty for Egyptian. These were absolutely iconic levels. Egyptian because you take on an invincible Baron Samedi, and Aztec because it's one of the best levels in the game. Aztec in particular is just as elaborate and fun to explore as any regular level in the game. It can be pretty tough because of all the laser-wielding enemies and somewhat confusing objectives, but when you're a kid, that doesn't really matter. It was fun just running around in a secret rocket base built into an Aztec pyramid. Egyptian, on the other hand, is basically a proto-troll level. It's absolutely cruel. Good luck getting the golden gun without a guide. This level, it just wants to kill you. Looking at them now, these levels aren't all that impressive, but back when GoldenEye first came out, they were amazing, and they're still some of the best rewards for beating a game we have ever seen. And finally, at number 1 are the bandana, stealth camo, and a tuxedo from Metal Gear Solid. This is one of the true classics. Depending on what ending you get in the original Metal Gear Solid determines what reward you get while playing New Game Plus. Beat the game with Meryl in tow and you get the bandana for the next playthrough, equip it, and you've got infinite ammo, so stealth is not really an issue. Just blast your way through Shadow Moses instead. Finish the game with Otacon, and instead you'll get the stealth camo, which makes sneaking sequences a total breeze. Finally, if you've got a save file with both endings, you get the tuxedo costume, which doesn't do anything, but it looks cool. It's a spy game, so that's a James Bond reference, you know? The 2 main rewards, the bandana and the stealth camo, are so iconic they appear again in Metal Gear Solid 2. The stealth camo gets used by Snake in the opening of the game, while the bandana gets referenced in a bizarre breaking of the fourth wall near the end of the game.
If you run out of ammo, you can have mine.
You got enough?
Absolutely. Infinite ammo.
These rewards aren't all that crazy, really, but they're about as iconic as it gets. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.